Hare Krishna. Okay, so we are reading from Canto 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 23. The title of this chapter is Devahuti's Lamentation, and the verse for today is 56. So it's 3:23:56 that we are reading today. Hare Krishna. We will start with the shloka 3:23:56. Neha yat karma dharmaya na viragaya kalpate na tirtha pad sevaya जीवन अपि मृतो हि सः नेहा यत् कर्म धर्माय न विरागाय कल्पते न तीर्थ पाद सेवाय जीवन अपि मृतो हि सः. Would you like to read? Neha yat karma dharmaya na viragaya kalpate na tirtha pad sevaya जीवन अपि मृतो हि सः. नेहा यत् कर्म धर्माय न विरागाय कल्पते न तीर्थपद सेवाय जीवन अपि मृतो हि सः. नेहा यत् कर्म धर्माय न विरागाय कल्पते न तीर्थपद सेवाय जीवन अपि मृतो हि सः. Thank you. We're reading the synonyms. Na, not. Iha, here. Yat, which. Karma, work. Dharmaya, for perfection of religious life. Na, not. Viragaya, for detachment. Kalpate, leads. Na, not. Tirth pad, of the Lord's lotus feet. Sevaya, to devotional service. Jivan, living. Api, although. Mritaha, dead. He, indeed. Saha, he. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. His Grace, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation: anyone whose work is not meant to elevate him to religious life, anyone whose religious ritualistic performances do not raise him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead him to devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be considered dead, although he is breathing. Hare Krishna. Purport: Devahuti's statement is that since she was attached to living with her husband for sense gratification, which does not lead to liberation from material entanglement, her life was simply a waste of time. Any work one performs that does not lead to the state of religious life is useless activity. Everyone is by nature inclined to some sort of work, and when that work leads one to religious life, and religious life leads one to renunciation, and renunciation leads one to devotional service, one attains the perfection of work. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, any work that does not lead ultimately to the standard of devotional service is a cause of bondage in the material world. Yagyarthat karmanonyatra loko yam karma bandhanaha. Unless one is gradually elevated to the position of devotional service, beginning from his natural activity, he is to be considered a dead body. Work which does not lead one to the understanding of Krishna consciousness is considered useless. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So the darshan would open in another 7 minutes. 7 minutes or 12 minutes. Okay. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, and today is January 1st, 2023. When I would be probably be quoting this verse in the later part of our discussion also, that Krishna says that Yoga Shemam Mahameham, if somebody desires to do unconditional, uninterrupted devotional service, then Krishna helps them. And the faith in these words increase when some coincidences that cannot be explained happen. There is a very deep relationship between today's Bhagavatam verse and the fact that we are considering and celebrating New Year today. So we will see what that is. So January 1st and this verse that today we are reading, there's a very strong connection between that. Okay. And when I realized that the faith that Krishna helps us in understanding, and giving us all the opportunities on our path to take more and more shelter or devotional service, that faith increases. So with that, I would like to seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas and previous Acharyas. So for that, quick Mangala Charan prayers. We can all do them together. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So today's verse is a conversation that Devahuti is having with Kardam Muni. She was married to Kardam Muni through a very grand celebration and event, and after living in very austere conditions, after some time, Devahuti expressed this desire to Kardam Muni, who was a very elevated saint, that she has a desire to now have children, and to manifest that, there was a very elaborate series of events. But after that, Kardam Muni, by his mystic powers, he created one flying aeroplane. And that aeroplane was not like aeroplane of today, which is like not broader than probably the width of this hall, and then some length is there, but you're very, it's a very congested space where you pay extra for extra leg space, right? It wasn't an aeroplane like that. It was a huge mansion which could fly, sort of. And just imagine, I mean, what a luxury. They were able to fly with that to different parts of this universe. So every day they are seeing different galaxies and, amazing things. And they had their own atmosphere also. So in that, they traveled for a very long time, and then they were blessed with baby girls. And at this point, now, Mother Devahuti has reached a state of transformation. Now she is suddenly talking about something higher. And in that, she is lamenting because she knows that Kardam Muni is a very advanced spiritual soul, and he is not attached to all this. So he's ready to take off. Okay. It's a very comparable situation to sometimes this place, this material world, it is considered to a fort. Okay, it's considered to a jail. And Mother Durga, Durg, that is fort, right? So Durga is the fortress, or the superintendent of that jail. It is said that it's very comparable. The situation is very comparable to the two people who have been punished, and they are being asked to do some hard labor while they are in jail. So hard labor in the jail, they will say, okay, we will figure out what you can do in the jail, be somewhat productive. Okay, so we have identified. Both of you are supposed to make chairs. That's the example I was giving. So let's say every day, your daily job is that you will produce 10 chairs. So you have to assemble, you have to cut the wood and everything. And if you are not done with 5 chairs each of you, each other, you are responsible. So you will remind each other, hey, you did only 4.5, finish it. Otherwise tomorrow problem, right? So those are our responsibilities in this world. And so Mother Devahuti's situation is that she knows that one day comes when we say, oh, Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopi Vallabh Bhagwan ki Jai, Shri Shri Nitai Patit Pavan Gaura Hari ki Jai. So in the life of every prisoner, a day comes when the warden comes, the jail superintendent comes and says, hey, your time is up. You are free to go. You are a free bird now. You can go from here. And that day, a prisoner may think, but he did not finish his making chairs in this lifetime, the responsibilities of this lifetime. 4 chairs are still pending, but they just become irrelevant because he is a free person to go now. So they leave the jail and they can go. It doesn't matter whether those chairs are completed or not. And Mother Devahuti knew that those rules do not apply to Kardam Muni because he was already at a Brahman platform. He was a true Brahmana. That means he was not attached. That means he was not bound by any chains in the jail. So he could leave anytime. And that's why Mother Devahuti, now because of her association with Kardam Muni, she starts asking these questions within about her spiritual progress. And that's why she would eventually request that she begets a boy who can help Mother Devahuti in her further advancement in Krishna consciousness or spirituality. So in that conversation today, in today's verse, what Mother Devahuti is saying is, she is talking about a cycle. Okay, what is that cycle? The cycle is whatever we do in this world that should lead us to or elevate us to religious life. From religious life, it should come to renunciation. Renunciation should lead us to bhakti. And if this is not happening, then our meaning of life is not getting fulfilled. Okay, so we will try to go deeper into this topic today. It's a good idea. So, yeah. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So, karma. What is karma? Some of us who have studied in this physics so far, it comes that for every action, there is a reaction in this world. Okay. But this is called observable science, something that you can see is happening. Okay. So like there is that Tulsi Maharani's stand is there. And if we push it and it moves, so the action is we are applying some force, and the reaction is it is moving. It's moving from one corner to the center of the hall. This is called action and reaction. It's observable. But Vedas, they teach us some things which are beyond our observation, but they are such truths that you can experience. So for karma, it is said that karma also has a reaction. Everything that you do, it has a reaction. There is some result of that. But also, apart from that, there is a desire to repeat it. There's a desire to repeat that activity. That's what happens with every living entity. Okay. For example, let's say you learn to play chess. So you just learned the rules. What would be the next desire? You want to play it. Then if you play it, now you want to play it again and then again. And there is always this curve that I just got to know what it is. Now I want to do it. I'm doing it. I'm learning more rules, tips and tricks. I'm becoming perfect. How many of you have played tic-tac-toe? Everyone. Did you realize after playing tic-tac-toe for a long time that there is a strategy in that by which you will never lose if you pay attention? Yes, Mataji is telling that. So what happens is, once you know the trick by which you will never lose at tic-tac-toe becomes somewhat boring after that. Little bit boring, because both the people know the trick how not to lose. And so we keep playing and there is no result. Or if the other person does not know the trick, you are winning all the time, continuously. 50 games you play or tic-tac-toe, all 50 times you won. And then it becomes boring, right? For the person who's winning, it becomes a little boring. For the other person, he has a desire to win. He may still be like, no, I want to fight this. I want to figure this out, what is happening. Okay. This in a nutshell is the essence of Karma Yoga. Okay. Karma Yoga, or even Ashtanga Yoga, it talks about a process of endeavor where you start working on something, then you attain perfection, and after perfection, renunciation should come. Okay. So, like in this, there is a process that is being mentioned here, and I will explain how this process is working. But the work is meant to elevate us to a religious life. Religious ritualistic performance should raise us to renunciation. Okay, so you start doing something and then you figure out yoga karmasu kaushalam, that what is the art of doing this in the best way, expert way. So you do it in the expert way, and then that expert way reaches renunciation. Now you're bored of that, or you want to give that up. It's done. I'm done with this, And when you are done with that, with all the karmas of this world, that should lead you to understanding the value of love and loving that personality which connects every living entity on this in existence. So okay, love. Now love cannot be that, okay, I carry love. Do you love somebody? No, I just carry it. No, it's not like that. Love has to be with somebody. And are there just random people roaming around us and we are just, yes, I love everyone? No, there is a connection between all of us. And what is that connection? That common connection is the Paramatma sitting within us. Okay, the Paramatma sitting within your heart is not different from Paramatma sitting within me. It becomes somewhat difficult to understand when we see it from material perspective, but from spiritual perspective, it is just like somebody is holding 100 one-sided rubber bands. One side is over here and the other side is in our heart. If you go back, you will go back to God. Other person will come back, they will also come back to God. There's single Paramatma sitting in everyone's heart. That's how we all are connected. So when you properly channelize the love, the prema, difficulty is for most of the people who grew up in India, the definition of love that you picked up was from Bollywood movies, right? Nobody else taught about prema, and we did not read Bhagavad Gita, right? So prema means, love means Bollywood movies. So that's the problem. So we need to correct it with some proper understanding. So when we are able to channelize that love that manifests as Jeev Daya, for that we should understand what is that commonality that connects you and me. Then that love can be properly channelized for each and every living entity. How to properly love. Okay. So that is, in that sense, a problem that we all are trying to solve, because love satisfies us. Love is the ultimate satisfaction of the human being. So the problem, if I am not satisfied, even for one moment, if it happens that I am not satisfied, that means I do not understand how to properly love. So how we can learn that? By knowledge. By knowledge. So talking about a big problem that is spoken in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita says that because for every action, karma, there is a reaction, karma phal. There is a desire to repeat that activity for that same phal again and again. Whatever you become master at, you want to repeat that because you like that, whatever joy it is giving you. Okay. It could sometimes be very direct, like a 15 minutes game which you play and you want to play it again because you just won and you love to do this. And sometimes it is not so apparent, but it is lying in our occupation where I am working for 30 days and at the end of the day, I get paid for it, for something that I can do. Right. So I have the ability, I feel, and I go ahead and I do that and I get paid. It does not apply to other occupations, which I cannot do, So we very strongly and closely identify with the thing that we can do. And then that is my occupation. So it need not be just salary. It could be a mother who is a homemaker and she has her own definition of requirements and desires and satisfaction. Like if my child eats on time, sleeps on time, and is doing good in their studies, and they are happy, and we are happy as a family, then that is the definition of my satisfaction that I get from my occupation. For a Prabhu, it may be if I get good salary and my family is happy. Okay. So something like that, right? There's a problem in this. And that is that if this is the idea or the attitude or the perspective with which we live our lives, it continuously feeds a desire to repeat this. And so the only thing that you would ask for after that is that I wish that I can continue doing this. Okay, even though there are problems in this entire situation that we do not want, like there is old age, there is disease, and there is ultimately leaving the world. We do not want that. But in this plan that we have, these things come, and when they come, nobody likes it. Right? So, is there an alternative? For that alternative, when one starts inquiring, then this karma bandhan becomes very important, because so many things then sound easier said than done. It is easy to say that you can, just leave this world and go to Vaikuntha. But how would I? Because I have attachments. Like somebody may say, right now, a plane is going to come. Krishna will say, okay, here, give me your hand and we will leave right now. It will be very difficult for us. We'll be like, no, but I have things to take care of. That is karma bandhan and moha, attachment. Okay. So when will this end? Will this end in old age? No, it seems like it will. It's a future promise. That future promise is always a moving target. Okay. A child may say, okay, once I have gotten like 25, 30 years old, then it's fine. 25, 30 years old man will say, once I retire. Once you retire, then also it's not like, yes, what, bro? I'm ready to die. Nobody will ever be in that state. I'm ready to go. So it's very comparable to the attitude of charity also. Somebody you ask, what will you do if you got $10 million? So somebody will say, I'll donate them. Give everything in donation. I don't need $10 million. $9.99 million I will give. Maybe $100 I'll throw a party to my friends. Right? But are you doing that to the money that you have right now? That you are donating it to 99% to others? No, that means you will not do even when you will get that $100 million, because it's a future promise. The same is the case with the attitude towards life and attitude towards God also. If you surrender today, only then you surrender. If it's a future promise that, yeah, one day I will surrender, it will never happen for millions of lifetimes. That's why progress in spirituality, every step is defined by our determination. Nothing else. Everything is possible. You can learn instruments, you can learn to preach, you can read Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita. There can be thousands of goals that you can make in spirituality. Who will fulfill or who will not, or who will just be, one would appreciate, one would do a little bit, and one would completely do it. It's completely driven by the progress in spiritual activities and realizations. Totally depends on determination. If determination is there, you will move forward. So for this to happen in the society, Varnashram was established. Varnashram gives a place or a situation for every living being to purify their life by the concept that is explained in Bhagavad Gita as yajna, sacrifice. Yajna starts with desire to enjoy something, which is given in Karma Kanda, and then it ends in selfless sacrifice or offering to the Lord. Yajna means samsiddhir haritoshnam, doing things for Lord satisfaction. So that means it starts with the desire that I want to eat pizza. It translates into offering bhoga to the Lord. And over a process of time, what should happen? That now I only cook for the pleasure of the Lord. Okay. So that is Karma Kanda leading to Nishkam Karma Yoga, leading to Bhakti Yoga. Okay, starts in this material world and the activities in this material world. Karma Yoga means karma. Karma means material activities, occupation, going, having 9 to 5 job, or doing a business, or raising crops. And then it starts. What is it for? It is somehow it is connected to me. And while you are doing it, now you start a smarna madhyan on the Lord, and you start changing just the reason why you are doing it. And simply by doing that, simply just changing the reason why you are doing it. You are taking care of your children, but simply changing the reason why you are raising your children, because Lord has given you a responsibility. The moment you became father or a mother, you were expected to take care of them. And if you properly take care of them, then Lord doesn't have to arrange anything else. So you did your part of your responsibility. Lord is satisfied with that itself. This is yajna. What is yajna? When you come to the platform of this knowledge that every activity that I do can be done for the satisfaction of the Lord, the moment you start thinking on this, meditating on this, it starts turning into yajna. There is a great advantage in doing that. What is that great advantage? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, when you start changing the reason why you are doing your activities, it liberates you from karma bandhan, from this attachment to this material world. And after the life, you would have completely liberated yourself and you will not come back into this world because of these worldly attachments. That's the result of yajna. Okay. Happens after that, he starts talking about Nishkam Karma Yoga. That this is from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga to Nishkam Karma Yoga, to selflessly doing activities which are connecting you to the Lord. Okay. When somebody starts working, they make a resume, biodata, curriculum vitae. In that, you show your experience. 5 years I have worked, so you say 5 years of experience in doing this, or 10 years of experience in doing this. Okay. Work leads to wisdom. Work leads to experience. The same is the case in spiritual realm also, that Karma Yoga brings you to the platform of knowledge. That is the outcome of Karma Yoga. What is the outcome of Karma Yoga? If I perform Karma Yoga for 20, 30 years, what will happen? It will bring me to knowledge. Okay. So I spoke about grahasthas who work. It applies to brahmacharis also. When you take up to brahmacharya, you renounce from occupational duties. Okay, so it is no longer directly affecting you. But on a subtle platform, there are unfulfilled desires. Unfulfilled desires are the problem for brahmachari. It is a problem for grahasthas also. Unfulfilled desires are something that we need to somehow fix, because unfulfilled desires bring us back to this world. Okay. So one was attachment. The reason was that. Other was moha, illusion. Unfulfilled desires can be cut down by 2 ways. The first, Gyan Yoga. When you read the transcendental literature, it brings you to the platform of knowledge, because of which you start losing taste in those things that generate unfulfilled desires in us. That is first. But it is not sufficient. In this age especially, it is not sufficient, because our occupation is not aligned with Varnashram anymore. Varnashram was supposed to be a hierarchy where you are under a king. King is under Brahmanas. Brahmanas are in touch with Brahman, Brahma Sparsha, that means with the Lord. So if you are part of this parampara, you will go back home, back to Godhead, even if you do your Karma Yoga. But now that Varnashram does not exist, that's why it is not possible to simply perform Karma Yoga, even for a brahmachari, Nishkam Karma Yoga, and go back home, back to Godhead. So those unfulfilled desires, Srila Prabhupada has told us by the conclusions of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, like the verse that we are reading. This is from Bhagavatam, but the points that have been summarized here are actually summary of first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so unfulfilled desires can be fulfilled within the boundaries of Krishna consciousness. You want to eat some very palatable item, offer it to Krishna and eat. That will eventually result in purification. But you cannot do the same thing for lust. The brahmacharis cannot do that for lust. So they need to cut that knot by Gyan Yoga alone. Okay, this was Varnashram. This was the idea of Varnashram. If we were simply following this idea of Varnashram, then we would not have had any problem. This is where a very important aspect comes. Varnashram was supposed to set the society in such a way that no matter what activity you do, you are doing it for Krishna, you are doing it for God. Okay, that is what this verse is saying, that if somebody is doing work which is not leading to God, then it's a waste, right? And that's why it was very important for the entire society to work with keeping God in center. This is the definition of a village. What is a village? A village, not even in India, even here, when we go to New Vrindavan, if you don't take the highway, you will go through some places where it's like for 20 miles, there's nothing. Then there's a church and there are 20 houses around it. Then again, there is nothing or just farm lands. And then again, after 50 miles, you'll see there's a church and there are houses around it. This is the definition of a village. There will be one temple and there is a community around it. You know what is the position of that temple? Entertainment, education, any festivity, anything to enjoy, anything to celebrate. Temple is the go-to place. That was their mall, that was their cinema, theaters, drama. So if somebody learns to dance in this setup, when they learn a performance of Bharatnatyam or something, they don't look at the people and dance for the people. They look at the Lord and they give that offering to the Lord. That is the difference between what is said in here. Anyone whose work is not leading them to the devotional service is actually a waste, and the life is getting wasted in that. So every aspect of your life is directed towards the Lord in Varnashram. It is a perfect setting. Everybody will go back home, back to Godhead. Okay. And whether you are doing drama or theaters or comedy or entertainment or anything, all that was directed towards the Lord. And in a very simple life setup, you are going back. So the idea of Saturday and Sunday in 7 days of a week, just working for 5 days or 6 days and 1 day of holiday, the purpose of that was that people would come on that day to the temple. And then what happens when we take breaks? When we take breaks, it gives us time to think about last 5 days. From last time you sat down and thought about your life, what is happening, from that Sunday to the next Sunday, we should reflect upon where my life is going. So there is a event that comes in 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where actually Narad Muni tells his story, and he says that there was a Sankirtan celebration that was happening in the heavens. Okay, and Narad Muni was very good looking. He was a Gandharva in previous life, and he was a very nice singer. But because he was good looking, and somehow he had a lot of lusty desires going on in the back. So because of that, what happened in this Sankirtan, where, as I said, everyone who sings, the purpose of his singing should be offering to the Lord. Everyone who dances, it should be an offering to the Lord. Everyone else is watching. So that is what has changed because of the breaking of the Varnashram. Earlier, people used to look at the Lord and dance. Now they have turned around and we dance for people. We have put ourselves in the center of enjoyment. That is the problem that has happened, right? So this is what Narad Muni did. In that assembly where Lord was supposed to be glorified, he started glorifying the people there, and especially the demigods and all that. And so immediately it was told that you have lost the focus. You have lost the purpose. Okay. And because you have lost the purpose, you should now go back to Mrityu Loka. And may you be born in a Shudra family where you will not have the beauty which bewildered you, because of which all this happened. That's why he's born as a Sudputra. Just to reestablish the fact that in Varnashram and in the heavenly planets, that we sometimes say that, okay, yeah, they went back to heaven, Swargvas, right? We should know that the idea of this heaven is, if you do not direct all your desires towards the Lord, then you are excused out from there very respectfully, back to material world. So that's why in first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam also, this stress is given in the verse Dharma swanishtha pumsam vishwaksena kathasuyah notpader yadi ratim shram evahi kevalam. The occupational duties of man that a man performs according to his own position are only useless labor if they do not provoke the attraction for the message of personality of Godhead. Okay. So now the point comes, what should a person do? What should I do? Now there is no varnashram, right? A very important thing that we must all do is understand the purpose of holidays. Today is Sunday. Today also happens to be this new year. I would like to tell you how this is a new year. Why is 1st January a new year? We are going little over time. Hare Krishna. So New Year is started for entire world around March, when winter goes and the climate becomes very nice. Okay. And there are flowers and the climate is very nice. Everyone is happy. Okay. We have Gudi Padwa or Ugadi or, different festivals are celebrated during that time. That's when everybody all over the world celebrated New Year. So February was the last month of the new year, of the year. That's why on some years it will have 28 days. By that time February comes, the last month comes, we run out of days. So it has 28 days. And on leap year, one extra day will get added to the end of the year, 29th day of February. That was the last month. Okay. And that is the time in Vedic civilization, as well as those forgotten Vedic civilizations like Romans, okay, and the Egyptians, they realized that this is the time for all the sacrifices should be done, all purification, because it is actually an inauspicious time according to astrology. Okay, whenever there is an inauspicious time as per astrology, we do a lot of austerities, we do a lot of fasting. For example, Kartik month is considered inauspicious in astrology. So Vaishnavas utilize it to increase our devotion. And that's why Krishna likes that month. And he makes it more auspicious for Vaishnavas. Those who don't observe it, sin increases for them during that dosha. Same is the case with Ekadashi. Ekadashi is actually an inauspicious day. Okay, sin enters the grains on that day. But Vaishnavas use it for spiritual advancement. We avoid grains on Ekadashi and we try to increase our sadhana. So that's why Ekadashi is very dear to Krishna. But for those who are not observing, it is not a very good day. Right? So the February month was like that. So there was this king, Julius Caesar. So he saw this and he was like, what is this? What a farewell to the year, right? The year that is gone. Everybody's, I was trying to throw a party. Nobody wants to come and eat cakes. What is going on? Everybody is fasting. So he brought on scholars and he was like, okay, let's change the new year. Let's change it to some other month. Okay, so whole world is celebrating New Year in March. And Julius Caesar is saying we will change the new year itself. Okay. So find some month which is very appropriate for the new year, where we can have some celebration and very nice things. And there should be some scholarly reason also. So then the scholars came back and they said, yes, we have a proposal for you, dear our Lord Emperor. What is that? That every month, not only in Vedic this thing, there are presiding deities. Even in Roman culture and Egyptian culture, which are offshoots, forgotten Vedic cultures only, there are deities for every month. So the December deity has two heads. It's a two-headed deity. One is looking front, one is looking backwards. So they said that this deity also signifies that you should see and introspect what happened in the past and what lessons can we learn to look forward, look beyond, look ahead. This is a very nice month to end the year. So September means 7th, Sapt in Sanskrit, right? October, octagonal, 8th month, right? November, Navam, 9th month, December, Dasham, 10th month. The 10th month, January was 11th, February was 12th. December, the 10th month was decided as we'll end the new year here itself on December 31st. Okay, but there was a purpose behind that, and that's the purpose which is directly related to today's verse. Today's verse is saying that while you are going around doing your certain activities, right, they should ultimately lead to you understanding the importance of doing it religiously. That means doing it in a sattvic way, doing it in a dharmic way. When you will do something with that expertise, you would eventually lose taste in that. So renunciation would come. Karma yoga leads to gyan, knowledge, experience, wisdom, and knowledge leads to renunciation. Unfulfilled desires get cut off. The knots, the hard knots of attachment, moha in this world get cut off by knowledge. So knowledge leads to renunciation. And renunciation should lead to devotional service. How does all this happen? This happens when you introspect, when you sit down, you give a pause and you think about what you are doing in your life. This was such an important and central part of the civilization that after every 5 or 6 days, on Sundays, Sunday would be the day to take break from your life, not a time where you can go do your groceries. There's the problem of modern world, because earlier the groceries were right there. Between the temple and the home, there will be vendors sitting to give you everything you need. So they didn't need a Sunday to do their, grocery shopping. Right. So Sunday was the day to reflect, to learn something, to apply it in our lives. That was the purpose of the weekends. That introspection leads to this progress in our thought process of what I am doing and why I am doing it. That takes us from living a life at a sakam karma level, that means doing things for my own pleasure, to now let me do it at a selfless level. We can become selfless only when we have perfected something. When you have perfected some work, you naturally become a teacher of that for the newer generation. When the newer generation you start guiding, then naturally even in material hierarchy you rise above, where you take an executive role, a leader role, where you are guiding others because of the knowledge and wisdom that you have gained. So it's a very natural progression. Okay, that should happen. So that's why in second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse 56, Krishna talks about this sthita dhir munir uchyate, that a person, an introspective sage, right? They can stabilize their intelligence in spiritual knowledge because they are introspecting. So introspecting, sometimes we say that I don't know what to introspect. How does a person introspect? What should I, and what conclusion should I reach? So that's why this knowledge from others is very important, that you go to a guru, they explain you something. So we are like borrowing the introspection from the guru, that, okay, he taught us something, so it is helping me. But there is this very beautiful incident that I want to share. His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj once was giving a class on Grahastha Ashram, husband, wives, children, and front row, right in front of Maharaj, Govind Prabhu, a very senior brahmachari, was sitting. Okay, so after the class ended, Maharaj was leaving. Govind Prabhu went and he said, thank you so much for the class, Guru Maharaj. It was very nice. So Maharaj looked and said, you're a brahmachari. I gave a class on Grahastha. Parents and children, what is it used for you? So Govind Prabhu said, but I'm your son, Guru Maharaj. I'm your son, right? And then Guru Maharaj said, but I want you to grow. But I want you to grow. What does that mean? That means that in bhakti, in the name of borrowing that introspection, borrowing that inspiration, we become heavily conformist. We conform to what Guru has said. I will do what my Guru has said. Simple. There is no ifs and buts about it. This is perfect, right? But what is Guru's expectation? Guru's expectation is that when my child is very small, I will teach him how to walk. So he will be holding my finger and he's walking. But I don't want that when he has turned 18 years old, then also he's like, Papa, yeah, let's go out, give me your finger, I'll walk. No, no father wants that. We want our child to become independent, but become independent in the way where he knows my heart, what I have taught him as do's and don'ts. So even in my absence, he will work independently, but he will do and act the way I wanted him to. So conforming and following somebody is very important, so that in their absence also we will do what he would have expected us to do. But that independence is very important. That is what is expected. That is exactly what Guru Maharaj told Govind Prabhu, that I want you to grow, So in Prabhupada's absence, how Prabhupada would have run ISKCON, that was there. Yesterday, Guru Maharaj was not there. Yugal Kishore Prabhuji was not there. But when we were there with Anuradha Priya Mataji, what would have they expected us to do? We did all that. So when they come back, we did something in their absence very independently, but we did exactly what they would have wanted us to do. Right? So for this, there should be a desire that although I conform and I hear and I am a very good follower, one day I want to be a good leader in the absence of those leaders and do exactly what Srila Prabhupada did when Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was not there. To do what Guru Maharaj, all our spiritual masters are doing when Srila Prabhupada is not here. And it would be expected from us that we will do exactly that, what the previous acharyas did. Not materially, not as it is in material terms, but as it is in the mood of that. Right? Let's see if we have reached a very nice conclusion here. Anyone whose work, that means material work, is not elevating them to religious life, that means understanding knowledge, dharma, and trying to live a life based on that, and that leading them to renouncing from this material world. And anyone who is situated in renouncing from this material world is not understanding the value of love that he should have towards all other fellow living beings and that connecting source, Krishna, then they must be considered that life is of no use. Right? So a very beautiful lesson for the new year today is that the new year, this Julius Caesar, who finally ended up naming the 6th month by his name, July, right? He gave that. His idea was that we will take this time to sit down, sit back, introspect where my life is going, take that time out, and then repurpose it into spiritual direction and then go from there. Which way? Towards devotional service to Krishna. If you are doing that, that means you should not worry about whether I am doing it right or not. If you are convinced of performing devotional service in your life, you should know that you have understood what millions of people and trillions of people have not understood for lifetimes, and they still do not take up to bhakti. In that situation, the best they end up doing is either knowingly or unknowingly trying to perform Nishkam Karma Yoga. Those are for the married ones. And those who do take sannyas, who do Gyan Yoga, is not something that can be performed by any grahastha. Gyan Yoga means something that can only be done by those who, by the power of Gyan, have decided not to enter Grihastha Ashram. Gyan Yoga only applies to that. Okay, which means when we say Karma Yoga or Gyan Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, they are what is the driving principle in their lives. It's not that one who becomes a devotee does not engage in karma. We all are going to work occupation. We have not given up our occupation. Even brahmacharis are brahmacharis, which is also occupation in Varnashram. So we are not far away from karma just because we have decided to practice bhakti. So there is a need to understand karma yoga even for a devotee. Until you turn full time and you have completely understood, like Srila Prabhupada, the biggest proponent of Bhakti Yoga was Srila Prabhupada. But who has written purports on first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita? Prabhupada. That means even if you decide that I should not do Karma Yoga, you should understand what is it. so as not to do karma yoga, right? So knowledge of karma yoga is very important even for a devotee. The same ways, Gyan yoga is specifically just renounced people. That is it. Simple. Gyan yoga means you do not engage in this material world. But the knowledge that is important for renunciation is something that is important for all the practitioners of transcendence, right? So it is important for us also. So introspection, initially borrowed, but ultimately a desire to have that independent judgment, which is strongly rooted in the fundamentals of devotion, is very important for us. Leadership starts with controlling our senses. That leadership is not a choice. It is in that sense, if you will not lead your senses, then how would we even become Vaishnavas, right? So that desire should be there, that one day I have to be inspirational, be that leader where I will take decisions. And when my guru will come back and see that in past 6 months, the decisions that I took independently, they were all aligned with his teachings, they will be proud of you. They will be proud of us, right? So with that message for the new year, I wish and pray that you all, take up to this idea of taking ourselves closer to Krishna, walk on that spiritual path. And the last point that I want to quote is where Krishna says in 9th chapter, Ananya Bhakti, when you do Ananya Bhakti, right, then he helps you. Yoga Shemam Vahamyaham. Okay, what he says is that when you will try to dedicate your life to my cause, then there would be some endeavor in your life. Okay, I will provide for that. And once you have attained me, I will preserve. I will make sure you don't fall down. So Krishna continuously helps the devotees who are genuinely trying to put their Ananya Bhakti, means non-stop, day and night you are trying to serve, right? Krishna will make sure that you are able to perform your sadhana somehow or the other, Yesterday we came here for a festival. Somehow, I'm not saying I'm doing Ananya Bhakti, but I was just appreciating how Krishna helped me in something. There was certain level of anxiety that for the service that I had to do. And I just, my dear God brother, sitting behind chanting his Gayatri. And I was like, the moment you see somebody chanting Gayatri, if you have to do it also, then it's like the best time is go and sit with him and finish it, right? And that's when I just recollected this verse. Krishna does that. It helps you when you are trying to, he helps you when you are trying to continuously surrender to Krishna on a moment to moment basis. He will help you do your sadhana. He will remind you, he will give you ways by which you can remember, okay, this is the best time. Let me take care of this also. If you read that purport, Prabhupada is exactly saying that verse applies to, those who have determined that they will follow this process of Ananya Bhakti. Hare Krishna. So with that, I'd like to stop. My deep apologies for going a little overboard, not being able to respect time. One question: if a service towards Lord gives me a lot of pleasure and I am very much attached to that service, and sometimes if I miss to do the service for some reason, I get very much disturbed. Should I renounce this service until I learn to do it for the pleasure of the Lord? Answer is no. I asked a similar question to the sadhu. Thinking of leaving any service is in Rajogun. So we should not do that. We should continue to do that. The only way to learn swimming properly is by continuing to swim. Never give up swimming. The first I will learn how to swim properly, only then I will enter water. Can never happen. Okay. And that is the idea that we should take a lot of pleasure in doing the service, because the ultimate goal of spirituality is to make us happier, a happy person. So if you feel happy in some service, that is successful. Lord is very happy that you are happy, but we should try not to be attached to the service, but we should be attached to the idea of service. It's a little difficult, but it's a next step in the path of purification. It has happened with me that In one event, I was first scheduled to sing twice years ago before I came to Michigan, and I sang once. But then second slot was given to somebody else, and I was so broken-hearted. I went out calling my Shiksha Guru, oh, I did not get this, that, and like, you did the service, right? But we are so attached to that, that idea. But so service attitude is very important, but we should try to see it beyond that service. This happens, why it happens is because I am seeing myself as taking pleasure in my service, but I am not so much mindful that this service was supposed to be for Krishna. If I realize that this service was supposed to be for Krishna, then Krishna can switch, right? Okay, I want you to do service today in the kitchen. So if my idea is that I don't do service based on what I like, but whatever Krishna likes, so okay, immediately something comes, okay, Krishna wants you, how does Krishna says? Through his devotees only. So a devotee walks over and says, hey, we need some help in the kitchen. No, acha, I had to sing, right? So that's what happens. So that's where that selflessness should eventually come from my desires to Krishna's pleasure. So, okay, if I am needed in the kitchen, let me help and there in that and try to get that same joy that I would get by doing kirtan, by doing service for the Lord there. Okay. Okay, any other comments? Otherwise, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guruji.
Very nice class, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Prabhu, thank you so much. I really like the points where you said knowledge leads to renunciation. Renunciation should lead to devotion. Very nice points. And also the fact that the hope that Krishna helps when we are trying to serve him on a moment-to-moment basis. Krishna does help us to commit to our sadhana. That was also actually many nice points, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So once again, wish you all the very best for the new year ahead. May this new year bring more and more devotional inspiration to you. With that, I would like to end here. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.